Welcome everyone to the Package Group Weekly Retrospective for February 2020. Well, it's the 7th, I guess. And kicking off is Tim.
Yeah, so what went not so well this week? Felt like my calendar was jam-packed. I think the first week of the month is always filled with meetings for me. So thanks to everyone on the team that didn't mind when I canceled or rescheduled coffee chats. Apologize for that. And Nick's not here, so I could read for him. An issue around JUnit performance was raised again and feels bad. And the middle of the week felt slow and not as productive as the start. On to Dan.
Yeah, so I didn't realize the team was using one of the dashboards I gave up on to check their own metrics, so I need to fix it. I also kept trying to get started on release posts, but didn't. So that's on me. I apologize, Tim. And I'll have a look at those today. I feel a bit of pressure from myself to be very clear around our workflow that we're able to deliver. I've been very careful to not randomly try to change things. Sorry, because I can't do that by fiat anyway. But and we didn't merge the async stand-up changes yet. I'm still getting feedback and have to respond to a couple of questions and things. So if anyone hasn't had a chance to take a look at that, it's in the sync meeting notes, as well as I think I dropped it into the Slack channel. Over to you, Steve.
So this week, a bug was discovered in the container expiration policies code while testing on production. And both the bug and the fact that it, again, has slowed down the release of the expiration policies is a bit of a bummer. And then also one of my MRs was merged quite a ways behind master, and it caused master to break. So it was reverted, and now I get to rewrite the MR with the fixes and resubmit it to review all over again. But as David mentions, it will up our MR rate. Ian?
Something that went not so well this week is we've kind of moved through the milestone. I realized how much I put on my own plate and feeling a little bit of the crunch in terms of being able to get it done. So that was a little bit of a stress this week. Over to Haley.
Yeah, so I've been feeling a bit of worry about getting the container registry tested, since that involves, getting a lot of data copied over, and it's a whole process. So it feels like there's during the week it just felt like stuff needs to happen. But we did get it tested. The tests do show that there are fewer blobs available to be deleted than one might expect. So that's a bit, it's not exactly the data profile that we would have expected, and it might be a weird data set, but it is a cause for concern. On to you, Nico.
So yeah, the first thing is that we had a bit of bumps, or better, like conversation needed to merge the first proof of concept MR. And then I was doing a lot of code climate work because we have new component in GitLab UI, finalize some best practice. And then I realized that most of this code is going to be replaced by the proof of concept code. And so it felt a bit bad because it's very small improvement that way. And over to David.
Yes, so I was confused this week by the QA bot. We receive a QA issue where you have your MR that has been merged and you need to verify them on staging and production. And I received like 2 or 3 different issues with referencing the same MR. So I guess it's not a good week for the bot. On to Joao.
So the review for the container registry tech delete MR is taking longer than I expected. With my 1 week absence, there was now 2 week period where I wasn't able to reply to the maintainer feedback. So I just did it today. I'm 2 weeks behind now. I'm a bit worried about this because this is related with the performance improvement that I'm also implementing in GitLab. And considering that we have to close the container registry release next week, this might have an impact on that. On to Tim.
Thanks for what went well. I think the milestone grooming for 12.9, not to stress people out that the next milestone is coming, but it's going well. I'm excited to see some of the new features that are in there, especially some of the new API functionality. I got up to speed on what's required and some of the how-tos for being the release post manager, which I haven't done yet in my tenure at GitLab, so I'm pretty excited to do that. And I'll read for Nick. The start of the week, got some nice merge requests in, including documentation updates and the new package details title. And it was good to see the first MR for the new container registry UX was merged. On to Dan.
January was pretty awesome for us. We did 11.5 MR rate in our combined team. This is one of our important metrics. It is not a be all and end all, but it's pretty cool to be able to see us really hammering through code. Now, you know, I'm writing some OKRs around these things, and I'm hoping to write something that actually makes sense. So I'm going to share all of those as I'm creating them for people. Next one was made progress towards moving some of CI/CD towards integrated teams, where you have one manager for both front end and back end. Which I'm pretty keen on that. I think the integration, we relatively function like a single group anyway. And so I feel like that isn't a huge change for us. So I'm pretty excited about that. Compa process is done. I'm communicating that with the team, so that's good. Over to Steve.
I was able to debug a bug on production using the various logging and monitoring tools, which I had not really gotten my hands into yet. So that was really exciting and fun to work on a sort of new workflow there until I found out that it was my bug. And I had a few free moments this week and picked up a couple small MRs in the free time, and one was really quickly merged, and the other one was pretty much went through also with no comments and it's just pending the final approval. And then I was also able to spend a little bit more time looking at the bug list and kind of checking out a couple of the higher priority and severity bugs just to get familiar with them. Ian?
This week was pretty exciting because we moved the jobs to be done research forward. This is an initiative that Tim and I kind of started early, and we've come to find out that the rest of the, at least in the UX side and as well as the PM, are moving towards this idea. So it was really, really great to work on the surveying. We're going to get some feedback from our users. I was able to get really quick feedback from Nadia and Lori and Tim and everyone involved in the research to make sure it's robust and the data is going to be useful. So that was always feeling really good. The container registry design is ready for feedback, and that always feels good when you've hit that stage. And I've already signed up for a couple different review sessions with the design team, as well as during our Think Big, we'll be taking a look at it. So I'm excited to share that with everyone. And the last thing was something that came up several times this week is other team members have been asking how Tim and I function collaboratively, and asking for help on how we do it in different ways, including like, how do you structure Think Big so that it's useful for your team? As well as I was asked to give a presentation on how we're doing the jobs to be done, so we can share with other designers who are kind of struggling to understand its value. So that was feeling really, really good. Over to Haley.
Yeah, so the container registry testing did happen despite my fretting, and it went well. To give some rough numbers, for a 10 terabyte bucket, we were able to mark all the blobs in about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on settings, which is pretty good. We haven't done a comparative test with the older version of the registry, but my assumption is that it would take over 30 hours. That's based on our benchmarks, which are done with a smaller data set. So that
Did you
forecast
say-
might be a little inaccurate.
Did you say that was 10 terabytes? And how long did it take?
10 terabytes in 30 to 20 minutes, depending on setting.
So I know of one particular customer that had, I think it was 30 terabytes, and it was taking over a full day. So I think your estimate of 30 hours is probably about right.
Okay. Yep. On to Nico.
Yeah, so despite the bumps, the first of the proof of concept MR has been merged, and now we can move on with the rest. Hopefully it's going to be a bit faster. And the package list refactor to view, it's close to completion. The MR is out. We have a minor concern with one of the two API that is using, but it's very small. So this is good because then we can start working on the new designs as well. And over to David.
So the NuGet MVC is nearing completion. So seeing the light. Hopefully it will be get merged beginning next week, the last two MRs. And I had the chance to test the database lab channel, which is a really, really cool tool to test your queries. And actually, I think you have like a production database instance just for you, and you can add some indexes and run queries on it. So it's really, really interesting. Over to Joao.
So as Ellie said, the S3 performance improvement tests are going well. I didn't take part of those, but thanks Ellie for taking care of that while I was away. And I'm looking forward to see these being released somewhere next week. And that's it. On to Ben.
Sweet. Yeah, I think I wanted to add an action item here for myself. I'm going to go and fix the dashboard that people were using for themselves. I'd removed it in favor of the sort of shared dashboard we have for engineering, so that we're all looking at the same data. I'll go take a look at that and see if I can get it just up and running again so people could use it. The main value there that people talked about was the idea of being able to look at their own metrics, personal level metrics. And so I'll go and fix that. Short fix might just be getting those queries working again. And longer term fix might be actually updating those queries to be exactly the same as what's being used in the other dashboards. Some of that can be a little bit complicated. So I'm gonna take care of that by the next, might be next week. I've just got to make sure I get through some of the other things I need to do this week. So let me say by next Friday, I'll have that done, but I'm hoping by like midweek next week, if that sounds okay. Cool. Does anyone else have anything they want to chat about here that we went through? Nope. So I'm going to end the recording and we can have a little bit of a social catch up here if people would like to. Having said that, thank you everyone for following along at home. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the day, whatever that looks like, and enjoys their weekend.